Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Michael J, and I'm back again with another video. Now, most of you should know I'm a guy who usually likes to talk about positive things on my channel. And I'm pretty sure most of y'all remember when I presented 2 videos of showing y'all some of my all-time favorite musical artists, whether if it's Linkin Park, Tina Turner, Bob Marley, Amy Winehouse, Frank Ocean, Elton John, and, you know, pretty much the list goes on and on. But unfortunately, if I'm going to talk about things of what I love about on my channel, I'm going to have to discuss about things of what I hate. Which is why today I'll be presenting my least favorite musical artists of all time. That's right, I'll be presenting a list of musical artists of whose music I don't like, whose music I think is trash, mediocre at best. Pretty much a list of musical artists of who I just don't resonate with at all. And oh boy, it's gonna be a really rough time for me to get through this video. But hey, sometimes in life, you just gotta go through hell to get to heaven. So anyways, let's not waste any more time and get straight to my list.
I need something you prove, something stronger than I'm used to.
Now, I know there's a bunch of my friends that are huge Morgan Wallen fans, and they try to put me on his shit, and honestly, I just don't get the appeal at all. I find it quite surprising yet so appalling how he became so popular so quickly. Despite being one of the biggest stars in music right now, nothing he does I find to be exceptional at all, because to me, listening to his music is like watching paint dry. Like, it just does nothing for me at all.
I like lean, I like drugs, I like beams, I got plugs, what you need, no funds, what you...
Yeah, I don't feel like I have to say a lot about Lil Xan. He's just such an untalented little shit who never had any business being in the music industry. Don't really have anything else to say other than fuck Lil Xan. So let's just keep going.
Only way to sign is skid it. Hopping out the rave and skid it. Smashing on that bitch and skid it. Run to the chair with no...
Fuck this guy.
I tell a nigga don't dick ride, don't blink ride, leave it to the double thick thighs, twin sisters.
Fuck this guy.
Pull up in a demon on guard, looking like I still do fraud. Flying private jet with the...
Fuck this guy.
If you see me and you tryna see what's up, he wanna fuck with me, then I'ma have him stuck.
For fuck's sake, where the hell do I even begin with this talentless bimbo? I just really do not understand the fucking point of always blowing up shitty artists these days. It's like, why do we always choose the wrong people to blow up? It's just so appalling to me that the black community has been willing to embrace Sexy Red despite making shitty music. It's even more appalling to me that people find Sexy Red to be attractive despite the fact that she's ugly as shit, as she not only looks like an amoeba, but looks like the female version of Young Thug with a yeast infection. This talentless tramp has zero abilities to rap whatsoever, as her music lacks any direction, lyricism, or even good production alone. And the fact that there are little toddlers who are listening to her music is just absolutely disgusting to me. It's just honestly sad to watch, as it really shows the lack of parenting of today's generation. It's like, bitch, we get it. You're a $5 blowjob whore. You like shaking your ass. You like it when somebody's eating your pussy like shrimp fried rice. You like to crack the corn, pop the cherry, toss the salad. It's like, shut up. Who cares? Just shut up. But yeah, her music overall is just an absolute no bueno for me.
Cold enough to chill my bones. It feels like I don't know you anymore.
Now, when it comes to discussing Maroon 5, they are the epitome of being the cash cows of the music industry. Despite remaining popular all these years, their music nowadays just comes off so stale and uninspiring. Now, if we're discussing early Maroon 5, like in the early 2000s, that is when the band was at their peak, especially when it came to their album Songs About Jane. It's such an incredible pop-funk album, as it contains some of the group's greatest hits, from Sunday Morning, Harder to Breathe, She Will Be Loved, and This Love are all bangers. I always have a good time revisiting the album, as it contains all hits and no misses. But since the early 2010s, it's just been downhill for the group. At this point, you might as well call Maroon 5 the Adam Levine experience, because he's like the only member that everybody knows. Adam Levine is like the example of like that kid in high school who's involved in a school project, who takes all the credit when you have the other students who put all the hard work into that project while he puts in little to no effort. Every time Maroon 5 got popular, it seemed like Adam Levine's ego just kept getting bigger and bigger, because he just comes across like a complete show-off, especially when it always comes to taking his shirt off, you know, just making all the girls cream their panties like, yeah, look at me, girls, look at my abs, look at my tattoos, yeah, I'm such a hunk, am I? Yeah. With a combination of Adam Levine's ego, their reputations being tainted by being total sellouts, and just trying every single bottom-feeding tactic to keep topping the Billboard charts, is why I could really give a rat's ass about Maroon 5 nowadays.
I could have my Gucci on,
wear my Louis Vuitton.
Oh man, fucking Meghan Trainor. I think she is just downright corny. There's just nothing that I find special about her at all. Her music is just intensely boring, basic as hell, and they all just sound the same because it's just nothing but a typical throwback to the doo-wop era. I find her grating high-pitched vocals just very irritating. Most of her songs just have really bad messages. And yeah, overall, she just sucks. Enough said.
I got my peaches out in Georgia. Oh yeah, shit. I get my weed from California. That's that shit. I took my chick up.
Now, I know it's a cliche and it's popular to hate on artists like Justin Bieber. Now, before I start tearing this kid to shreds, I will give him credit. He worked hard to get where he's at, because I respect those types of people who actually work their way down the bottom and work their way up to get where they're at. And he has given us bangers, but overall, him as an artist, not that good. He's an artist who just comes off very unoriginal. He always uses a lot of corny and cliched computerized generated beats to make his music sound quote unquote cool, but ends up sounding terrible. And overall, he just comes across like an egomaniac, most notably the time where he visited the home of Anne Frank in Amsterdam back in 2015, where he said that Anne Frank quote unquote would have been a believer if she was still alive. Yeah, what a swell guy. And much like so many artists, whether if it's Justin Timberlake or Miley Cyrus, he used black culture just to benefit his career. It's like, what the hell is with these artists trying to be black? It's like, if you're not good at something, don't even bother doing it. Like, stop it. If you're not black, don't try to be black. And just when I thought that 2015 is when he was finally becoming good in his music, that was completely flushed down the toilet, as he would go on to produce some of the most god-awful music of his career, most notably the atrocious song Yummy, which was nominated for a fucking Grammy. That alone goes to show me that the Grammys are a fucking joke.
Cause I be the baddie beat, Barbie tanks, banging body beat, everybody beat, on my D, yo, I gotta be in reality.
Despite the fact that Nicki Minaj has received an abundance of milestones that no other female rapper has ever managed to touch, I've just never been a fan. While she's had some pretty good guest verses here and there, I'll give her that. I always just saw her as just nothing more than a little Kim wannabe. Whether if it comes to her lack of musical substance, to most, if not all of her songs just being downright annoying, and most of her lyricism, if not all, are just pretty mediocre at best to me, and I just don't find them special, despite most of people just hyping up like, oh my god, bars! And judging by most of her interviews and her Twitter account, she comes across very unlikable, whether if it comes to her cocky attitude, her immensely huge ego, and being the common denominator in all of the beefs that she's been in. Hell, her ego is so big, she even had the audacity to compare herself to Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman. Yeah, let that sink in for a bit. And I know for sure I'm correct when I say this, but her fans, aka the Barbs, have to be the worst music fandom ever. I really am not even going to bother explaining how deplorable and wretched they are. I've covered an entire video on that alone, so yeah, I'm not even going to bother. Her fans to me are just nothing more than a bunch of glorified ass kissers. Like, her fans will literally worship the ground she walks on. They will defend her at any cost. The Barbs will defend the fact that Nicki Minaj not only advocates pedophilia, but also is a rape apologist, especially her husband, Kenneth Petty, being a registered sex offender. So therefore, if her fans defend the fact that she condones that, that also makes them a rape apologist as well. But yeah, with the combination of having a shitty fan base, being an egomaniac, making shitty music, and being an absolute narcissist, Shitty Minaj is overall a no-no for me. So yeah, fuck her.
Hey mama, this that shit that make you move, mama. Get on the floor and move your booty, mama. We the blast.
I could do a whole video on Black Eyed Peas alone, but I'm gonna try my best to keep this brief. Despite the fact that they have blessed us with banging tracks, Rather Fits, Where's the Love, or Let's Get It Started, they're just downright terrible. To being massive sellouts, to the overuse of autotune, an abundance of hilariously shitty lyrics, and even abandoning their old school hip hop roots in favor of generic mainstream pop music, they are just garbage. And of course, we have the walking meme herself, Fergie. And,
Let our flag
Yeah, I don't feel like I have to say a lot about her. Like what I said, I could spend all day just ragging about Black Eyed Peas, but overall, with their entire music just coming off very repetitive, whether it comes to the stupid lyrics or just recycling so many shitty beats, their music has massively grown off me for the better part of like the past 10 or 15 years. And yeah, I just don't really care for them anymore.
Black leather glove, no sequins. Buckles on the jacket, it's elite shit.
I mean, is Drake being on my list a surprise? Is it? Is it really? Because let's face it, it really shouldn't be at all. Not only do I consider him the most overrated rapper of all time, but possibly the most overrated musician of all time. I don't think he's particularly terrible. I just find him to be mediocre at best. Now, as usual, I will give the guy props. He has some good songs, because even the most diehard hater of Drake has to admit that. And he's an undeniable hit-making machine, because every time he drops a track, it's always going to be a hit, regardless if it's good or bad. But other than that, overall, as an artist, I just don't think he's that good. He's somebody that I just find to be just nothing but a fraud, just comes off like a poser to me, especially the way he's always like chasing trends by acting like he's Jamaican and always just trying to find ways to make himself look cool, but always ends up making a complete ass out of himself, because when you are the biggest artist in the world, you should be setting the trends, not chasing the trends. Not to mention the fact that his music has massively declined for like the past probably 8 or 9 years, because I don't think he's made a good project since If You're Reading This It's Too Late. Because since then, for me, it's just been downhill, as his body of work is just god-awful now. Not to mention the fact the trilogy of shitty albums from Scorpion, Certified Lover Boy, and honestly, Nevermind. It is just so appalling to me that people have the audacity and the nerve to put Drake on the list of some of the all-time greatest rappers like Jay-Z, Nas, Tupac, and Biggie. It's even more appalling to me that people have the audacity to compare Drake of some of the all-time greatest musicians like Michael Jackson and the Beatles.
That's funny.
Get the fuck out of here, bitch! Okay, at that point, y'all be reaching like a motherfucker with that asinine statement, because to compare Drake's to the likes of Michael Jackson and the Beatles, not only do I find that insulting, not only do I find that disrespectful, not only do I consider that blasphemous, it is just absolutely stupid. Keep in mind, sales and net worth does not always solidify an artist as being actually great, okay? Just because Drake has sold more or has surpassed the Beatles and Michael Jackson's records does not mean he is as great as them or even better than them, because both Michael Jackson and the Beatles were musical artists that were purely talented from the core. Drake has hits, but both musical acts have classics, whether it comes to their catalog of albums or their singles. They have classics. It's like comparing junk food to like having like a fine dining at like a 5-star restaurant. Michael Jackson and the Beatles did not need streaming or social media to solidify their greatness or their legendary status. You literally had to go to a record store and buy their albums purely, so that alone says it all. Oh yeah, and FYI, Michael Jackson and the Beatles were so big that they literally had people fainting at their concerts. You don't see that with modern artists nowadays, not even Drake. The bottom line is this: even with Drake at his peak, he will never, and I repeat, will never ever be as big or as great as the likes of Michael Jackson and the Beatles at all. Like, y'all need to stop with that fucking comparison, because that's just utter bullshit. Stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.